Hey, you see your subscribers went up on your Instagram? People starting to follow you now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all the guys because they started like, hey, who's that? Who's that?
What?
Right. Like, that's all I'm trying to figure out.
Listen.
Yeah, they saw you on my page and they're like, who's that?
Oh, okay.
Listen, Miss Shotwell, you should already know the niggas was gonna follow you.
I was like, who are these people liking my pictures?
You should already know, man. You should already know, like that shouldn't be no surprise. That should be no surprise. Hold on, we back at it again. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm back again with me and some of my friends and a new friend. This is Prince Arcane. This is Chaos Culture Radio.
And this is your man, Ronnie Ron.
It's your boy, the new Jordan era. Let's go. Let's get it.
Ronna, you're going to have to do the intro. You're going to have to introduce her.
Yeah, this one right here is because everybody understands what's going on in the world with the mass shooting, especially when it comes to mental health. That's one of the things that's plaguing the black community. And you know, also plaguing the black community is also the murder rates as well. But mental health is the biggest thing that everybody's dealing with right now in today's society. And I think everybody know on this panel, Master P just lost his daughter due to mental health issues. Mm-hmm. So I had to bring up, for some reason, I saw this lovely woman y'all see on the panel today. She goes by the name of Shaquana. She was here. I saw her and I was like, yo, she and her on her platform, she talk about mental health. I say, you know, it'd be a good look for her to come on the show with a group of black men and talk about mental health and how can we better our society and to learn more about mental health and how can we tackle it on head on. And it's great to have her on the show. And as you can see, she's a very lovely, black, beautiful queen. So she's about to get ready to go in. Great to have you.
Thank you for having me, guys. I'm so excited to be on the show today. Like you said, I'm an advocate for mental health. I myself am a therapist, and I also do nonprofit work with children surrounding mental health as well. So this is something that's really, you know, dear to my heart because something I do notice is that the Black community don't share mental health. Mental health is not one of our top priorities. So I'm glad that we're talking about this today.
No, wonderful, wonderful. So I did see. Are you a teacher?
I'm a therapist.
You're okay. So I did see that. So I want you to like talk to a lot of our viewers as far as like what is your first thing when the conversation of mental health comes up? What the first thing you try to address?
That is necessary. I mean, it's no simple way that I could put it. That's like the simplest way that I could put it. Coming from an African-American family, you know, like I said, in the Black community, mental health is like, oh my gosh, like what, you know, I just want to take away all the stigma that's surrounding around the talk about mental health and why mental health should be a priority. You know, we focus on the outer so much, but the inner messed up, you know? And like I was saying the other day, I was talking to somebody about it and I was like, when we were in school, the first thing we were taught about science was the brain controls the body, right? So it's kind of like if you don't take care of your mental health, how do you expect your physical body to even operate properly? Yeah. So it kind of goes together. So that's something that, you know, I really want people to understand that your mental health is a top priority. It's actually even more of a priority than your physical health is, because if you're not right mentally, your mind can destroy your entire body, your entire life, you know, and that's why we see so many people that deal with mental health issues. Either they end up committing suicide or they end up killing other people. And because, you know, like I'm not trying to make excuses for what they're doing, but I just want to shed light on this situation so people can know, you know, how important it is to take care of your mental health.
Now, I do appreciate you mentioning that because I don't think it's not talked about enough. But you know, one thing when you talk about that with old folks say ain't nothing wrong with you. You know what I'm saying? Right. Or you know, there's no need to be talked about. I also think that there's a lot of contributing factors that we think that. So look at it. I look at it from this point. I want you to chime in on this. Sometimes we can see somebody acting funny, but don't know how to approach the situation.
Mm-hmm.
So even with kids now, sometimes there's certain behavior we see in kids that can be a precursor for things that could be later on. But sometimes we just think, oh, that kid just bad or stuff like that. So where I want to know what made you wanted to get in something like that, because what you're in is becoming a therapist is a very selfless thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it had to come from it. Is that something happened in life what made you shift your focus on wanting to do that? Because that's like you had to have some type of love or had to been something traumatic for that to pick a field like that.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked me that, because today I had officially made up my mind that I was actually going to be more open about my childhood and why I do the things that I do. Because, a lot of people look at me and they're like, oh, this and that. Like, I talk to people and I'm always telling them, you got to forgive, you got to be happy, you got to do this. And then they look at me and they think my life is so perfect. And I'm like, I promise you, if I tell you my story, then you'll tell you got to forgive, why you got to take care of your mental health, why you have to do these things. But briefly, I would say for me, it's childhood. And this is where everything starts for everybody. I cannot express this enough. Everything starts in childhood. That's why parenting is so important. As a parent, you basically take on that responsibility to create a person. This is what you're doing, because everything that you teach this child, everything that you do to this child, everything that you say to this child, everything this child sees you're doing, an example that you're setting, this is what's basically president for your child. Like, when they grow up, everything they are is basically what happened to them in their childhood. And it's up to us, whether that was a good experience or a bad experience, to make that into something better. And as for me, I'm not going to say like my childhood was really, really bad, but I will say that my childhood was the typical Black American childhood, dealing with the things, with the Black mother that has not dealt with her unhealed trauma. So now she's putting that trauma on me. You know what I'm saying? Like, just a lot of things that I see that's pretty much familiar. And a lot of us share these same stories, because I give therapy to a lot of Black women, to a lot of Black men, to a lot of children. And the stories are always the same. And this is what really made me want to start talking about this publicly, because a lot of times when we suffer from things and when we go through things, we think it's just us. Or we feel like, oh, well, I'm the only one feeling like this, or, why I have to go through so much. But then when you start talking to other people and you're like, man, you went through the same thing I went through.
Mm-hmm.
People say this too sometimes, like people will post stuff on social media and then people are like, oh man, I feel like we all had the same childhood. And it's really kind of like that, because it's a cultural thing that I'm starting to see, which is really connecting us as a Black community and what's happening to us as adults. So I'm gonna just give you an example, because this is something that's like, I'm pretty sure a lot of us have heard. But when it comes to children, as a child, I've heard plenty of Black parents say this, and I only speak to Black parents because I'm a Black person. So it's nothing against Black people or any other race, but I can only relate to, where I'm from. But as a child growing up, parents would say this, oh, stay in a child's place, don't be friends with your children. Your children are supposed to fear you, oh, don't talk. Why you talking? Or don't cry. Why you crying? Stop crying. All of these things that happen to you in your childhood, all it does is create an adult that would not know how to manage their emotions. You know why? Because every time you got emotional, your parent told you to shut up, or they told you, oh, why you crying? You shouldn't feel that way. Your emotions were never validated. So now as an adult, you was always told to shut up as a child. So now you don't know how to articulate your feelings, or you shut down because as a child, this is what was always told to you. Or even something as simple as, I've heard parents say this all the time. Like I say, your child should fear you. You shouldn't be a friend to your child. But guess what? You create a whole life around your child of them fearing you to try to have authority over them. But then as they become a teen, guess what parents are saying when you're a teenager? Oh, my child don't talk to me. I can't get her to talk to me. She won't tell me nothing. She won't share nothing with me. That's because as her whole life, up into her teenage years, you didn't want her to talk to you. You wanted her to fear you. You wanted her just to respect you. All you wanted to do was to assert this authoritative figure in her life. So now that she's a teenager or she's a young adult, she don't see you as somebody that she can talk to. She don't see you as somebody she can share her secrets with. She don't see you as somebody that's a safe space where she can come and connect with you and be herself. So these are some of the issues that we're dealing with in the Black community. And like I said, It all stems from childhood. So everything that your parent instilled in you from a child, now as an adult, you're trying to navigate through these relationships, and people are like, Shaquana, why are you like this? Why you don't like to share things with people? Because I had trust issues, because I felt like I could never trust my mother. So now me trying to build friendships with other people, I couldn't do that because I didn't trust them. So these are some of the things that people deal with, but some people, I'm gonna say this, some people don't know why they're like this, and then there are some that do know, but they don't know how to fix it. But I will say this, it all starts with childhood. Everything starts there. That's why the first thing I do when I meet with clients, I always go back to their childhood. Like what's our relationship you have with your mom? What's our relationship you have with your dad? Because your parents basically set the entire foundation of every relationship that you have. So as a male, the relationship that you have with your father is going to be the same way that you interact with other males. As a male, the relationship that you have with your mother is the same way that you're going to interact with other women. It's the same thing for women. The relationship that you have with your mom is the same way you're going to interact with other women. And the same relationship that you have with a man, with your father, is the same way you're going to interact with other men. And as for me, my relationship with my mother was kind of strained. So when it came to me building friendships, I always had issues because it was me having issues with being in relationships with other women. Now, as a relationship with my father, we're extremely close. I could tell him anything. So I never had a problem in intimate relationships because I already had that foundation with my father. He had already set that good foundation with me. So I always, like, some of my closest best friends are males. And that's because of the relationship that I had with my father. So that's why it's so important to go back to that childhood. And that's why I'm here today doing what I do.
No, but I want to ask you a question because you mentioned the fact of the males. Because, especially black men, we all taught as men to not cry on a woman's shoulders, or to keep our emotion to ourselves, to work it out, not express ourselves. What can you give us some intake of what black men should do? The best way for them to release themselves, to express their emotion the correct way?
I would say, for one, the correct way is always talking about it. Now, I will say this because these are some of the things that I hear. Oh, I can't trust anybody, or, oh, don't nobody want to hear that. Oh, I don't want to dump all my mess on somebody else. There's always somebody you can talk to. You have to find somebody you can talk to. And then if you don't want to talk to somebody, write it in a journal. This is always my second choice. My first choice is for you to be able to talk to somebody else. But I do understand, as for men, a part of mentality that was already set in you from a childhood, that basically the mentality is, in order for a man to appear strong, he has to hold in his emotions. He can't show shame, or he can't show fear. Kind of like that. I know everybody's seen the 300, kind of like that 300 Sparta type thing, men have going on. And honestly, it's really killing black men. It's killing your relationships. It's killing your friendships. It's killing it, because now you have this person that wants to share that intimate part with you, and they can't because you're not telling them what's going on. You know what I'm saying? So if you're in a relationship with someone and you're not able to share those parts of you, but they're sharing those parts with you, it's almost like it creates an unbalance. You understand what I'm saying? So now it's like you have this woman pouring everything into you, all of her issues, all of her problems, but you don't have an outlet. So the second choice for me, like I said, would be to journal it. I know some men probably don't have journals, but hey, write it down. You don't even have to have a journal. Get your piece of paper every day at the end of the day and just write down your thoughts, write down your feelings, because when you write it down, you're also getting it out of you. That's my whole thing. I just want you to get it out of you, because as long as it remains inside of you, it's just going to fester, and then it's going to harbor. And then what ends up happening is, every time you encounter something else that's like similar to what you went through, you're going to use that same feeling and that same expression, and that's how you're going to basically deal with that problem. So it's better to kind of just write it down. And then if you can't write it down, something else that's really, really good to do, exercise. Physical activity. Physical activity is another way to kind of get things out, okay? Like energy, because basically what you're doing is you're transferring that emotional energy into physical energy. So now, instead of you having all that in your head, now you just running it out. Like, I'm a runner. I used to run track. So this is something I used to do before I started getting into mental health. These are some of the things that I did. I journaled and I used physical activity to kind of get all that stuff out of me. And I don't know if you guys go to the gym, But I know you hear like gym rats always talking about it. They're like, yeah, man, when I leave the gym, I feel so good, man. I just feel like a new person. And the reason why, because you're just getting all of that stress out of you. You know, you getting all of those thoughts out of you. You listening to your music. Now your mindset is changing. Now that energy, all that energy, that emotional baggage is basically transferring into some physical energy. Now you just basically got all this energy and you just running it out or whatever you choose to do. If you lift weights or play basketball or whatever it is, find you some type of physical activity, which I know a lot of men probably will prefer that route, because most men that I do counsel, that's what they say. They be like, yeah, man, I'd rather just go to the gym. That works too. But whatever you do, get it out and try to get it out within that same day if possible.
Okay. I have a question. How, especially for the parents, how important is for parents to do like maybe daily, weekly, or monthly check-ins for their children? Because I feel like in our Black community, we really don't check in with our children like that, just to see what their mentals are. Can you tell us how important it is to check through daily checks or weekly checks for your children?
It's so important. I'm glad you asked me that. I just did a video on this because I went to this career day that I did last week at this school. And every time I'm around kids, I always ask them, can you talk to your parents? You know, can you feel like you can share everything with them? Do you feel safe in your home? You know, these type of questions I ask children. And out of, I want to say over 200 kids that I've seen, there probably were like 30 kids that said that they feel like they can talk to their parents. 30 kids that say they feel like they're safe in their home with their parents and they feel like they can be themselves around their parents. That's another big thing. Check in with your kids every day. We're not perfect. You know, I'm a mother myself, and I'm not going to pretend like I'm the best mom in the world. But what I will say is everything that I felt my parents didn't give me, I try to give my kids. You know, everything I don't understand, I try to research. I try to learn about it. I think as parents, sometimes we look at ourselves like we've already done the work by having our children and taking care of them. And then we kind of forget the emotional aspect of it. So what I would say is check in with them every day. You got to wake them up for school. You got to pick them up from school. So these are the questions I ask my son when I pick him up from school, because he's the youngest. So I'm like, hey, you know, how was your day? How was school? Of course, all kids will say, it was good. Okay, well, what was good about it? Tell me something good about it. Okay, well, he'll probably say he always say PE. He's a boy. He's like, oh, yeah, PE or art. Okay, well, tell me what was good about in PE or art. So now I'm basically interacting with him. I'm letting him know that I care about his day. That's very important, because as parents, our children look up to us. They look up to us for approval. So they want to know, like, we care about how they feel. So I'm not just okay with oh, my day was fine, mommy. It was okay. Okay, no, tell me what was fine about the day. So I think it should be an everyday thing. I know some parents probably, you know, especially if you're a single parent, you might not have time. You might work 2 jobs. At least try to do it 3 or 4 times a week. The more, the better. And it could be something so simple as, how are you feeling? My daughter, she's older, so I can really get deep down with her, you know, and she gave me the things of why children don't talk to their parents. That came from her. I asked her, I said, hey, you know, do you feel like you can talk to me? She's like, yeah, mommy, I can talk to you. I was like, well, you feel like you can tell me anything? She was like, yeah, I feel like I can tell you anything. I was like, okay, well, why do you think children feel like they can't talk to their parents? And these were the things she told me. She was like, because they might not believe them. I don't know. You know, they might think we're lying, or they don't listen to us. They don't care about how we feel. And this is coming from a 12-year-old. So I think it's very important. I think sometimes too, as parents, we don't consider how smart children are. That's another thing. Like, I've heard parents tell me, they're like, oh, I didn't think she would understand. No, children understand. They really do understand. Some of them know more than what we know. If you actually sit down and start asking them questions, and then if they don't understand, you can help them understand. That's what parenting is all about. So I think it's very important. Oh my gosh, it's extremely important, because before, I'm gonna just give you a story, just tell you how important it is. Because I tell everybody this story, because it's just like, before I started doing my own entrepreneurial stuff, I used to work for something we call here in Broward the child protection team. I was in child welfare for over 10 years. And a part of that team, I was a forensic interviewer. So I pretty much interviewed all children that was like physically or sexually abused. I had this one child, the case came in for mental abuse, okay? He was being mentally abused in his home, mentally abused at school. They were bullying him, calling him fat, and his parents were doing the same thing. So that's even worse. So I interviewed this child, I spoke with him, and I basically verified it for mental abuse. And my recommendation was for him to be removed out of the house with his parents into a safer home. Because at the time, I feel like his parents, even with me talking to them, they still didn't get it. It was more so like, oh, we just want him to lose weight. He need to lose weight. And I'm like, listen. Forget about the weight. We're on his mental condition right now. I'm trying to get you to understand his mental state right now. Long story short, 6 weeks later, this is the 8-year-old boy. It was on the news, so I can't say any names. An 8-year-old boy, you guys, went into his father's closet, got his gun and shot himself. 8 years old. Because he was being bullied at school and bullied at home. So that's how important it is to check in with your children every day. I could just stop. That's how important it is right there.
Let me ask you something. In hindsight, because you seem very knowledgeable about a lot of things, I want to ask, do you feel, coming from the era we came from, and as you are a little bit older now, you have kids, do you think a lot of things we did growing up were very dysfunctional compared to like being older and just deja vuing about it?
Oh yeah, as a child, I think about like riding the school bus, how we used to have them little rank sessions, and we used to rank on each other and have them little roasting sessions and stuff like that. Because a lot of the adults that I deal with now, when I go back to their childhood, I'm like, dang, this why they like this. You know, like you've ever met, and I'm gonna give you an example. You ever met a person where they always feel like they have to attack people first? It's almost like they have to get one off first. That comes from somebody who's been bullied their whole life. So now instead of them, you know, instead of you getting them, they're like, oh no, you ain't gonna get me. I'm gonna get you first. I'm gonna make you feel bad before you try to make me feel bad. And that is something that basically comes from someone who dealt with bullying in their childhood and probably still deal with it, you know, now even in their adulthood. So something so simple as those little rank and roasting sessions that we used to do, it causes stuff like that. You know, those are the long-term effects of it if we don't get it checked. So that's why now as a mother, I tell my kids, I'm like, look, don't bully nobody. Don't talk about, don't say nothing bad about nobody's kids because you don't know their situation.
Yeah. It's funny that you say that. I want to even express something that I think I've even personally went through. And you probably remember this back in the days as well. So, and I know some people who still deal with this to this day, even though it's not as prevalent. You remember when Haitians, you know, I'm Haitian, you feel me? Now, growing up, our counterparts was not very nice to us. You know that, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I know several people who became sociopaths due to the bullying from that. And I'm talking about literally guys they lost their screws because didn't go back to school, didn't do nothing like that. Some people was probably not as strong as me. And I even think that even for my sake too, I got tired of it. I just came back to school with a knife. I say, niggas is just dying today.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So you do say something that's very prevalent. I still know people who talk about this, who even to this day have some type of issues with Black Americans. And I say it's really not that serious. You know, sometimes you got to say kids don't know no better because a lot of these kids have some type of trauma going in their own house. So sometimes they try to pick on the lesser ones. I even think that's an underlying issue that people do not like to talk about. The 90s era, where they was telling Haitians eat cat, go back to your own country. You know what I mean? Like, and they start to not understand why they used to have a lot of these gangs start to come out of this and stuff like that, even amongst our own people. So you do hit on some very touchy subjects that I know a lot of people are going to watch and say that as kids, even as adults, we still reliving some of these things every single day. I get triggered by when somebody just say some dumb shit. Yeah. Like it's just on some like, okay, I'm just ready to smash on something. But you know what I mean? And that's just from growing up in a hostile environment every day. Like, you know what I mean? It's like PTSD. And I don't think people understand that growing up in the ghetto, you have PTSD. What area you grew up in?
I went to Shanahan High School in Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, so you from Broward. Okay.
Yeah.
So you don't know too much about Liberty City, do you?
they called my school the Haitian high school.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I went with a lot of Haitians. No, that's what they call it.
Yeah.
People still pick on me when I be like, I want to show hand. They be like, oh, you went to the Haitian high school. I be like, man, whatever. I mean, I graduated with some of the most prestigious people. My classmates all doing good. You know, I could brag on them. You feel me?
Yeah.
I can't say this, you know, that you're saying that because I grew up in the Haitian community. You know, like I went to school out of there, but my parents lived in Miramar. So Miramar was nothing but Haitian.
But Haitians, yeah.
So we were like, Black Americans were like the minority in Miramar.
Yeah.
So I didn't really grow up, you know, picking on Haitians, but I know it did happen.
Yeah.
Where I live, it was so many Haitians, so it was like, it wasn't really like picking on Haitians where I live. But I do know that did happen. I've heard people do it before. And I will say this, as much as Black people don't like to talk about it because we always try to make racism a Black and a white thing, but Black people are racist, very racist. They just notice it. They so caught up on what white people did to Black people. But you can be racist as a Black person. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could be racist
I'm racist now.
Fact.
You see?
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So you do touch on some points, and I think it just, I'm not gonna lie to you. When he told me about you, I said this is very beautiful, but it's always, you have to, you know, that's what I'm saying. It's very important to talk about these things because it leads to a lot of issues we can prevent. Just like a lot of people don't want to talk about what happened in Texas. The guy who did that had mental health issues. It come to find out, it says that he was bullied, he was transgendered and stuff like that. Simple stuff. I've always had a policy that, you know what I mean, when you're the one who being picked on, you're not going to be the one picking on other people. But a lot of people don't understand that. You have some people who in society are very privileged. And I'm saying, like, privilege in a point, I want you to touch on that too. Because you said something earlier that I think it was very prevalent that you say, you know, a lot of people might look at you and think you got everything going together. I ain't gonna lie to you. You look like an Instagram girl. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I thought you was like a celebrity when he showed me your picture. You know what I'm trying to say? You know what I'm saying? But look at, I don't even know you. And that's the first thought that came to my mind. Oh yeah, she must be getting a bag. I didn't know you was a therapist. I hadn't went on your page, but this is just how society trained us to be. You know what I mean? To be like, it's so crazy. I already judged you before I even knew who you was. Oh yeah, she might be an Instagram model. Mm-hmm. Not knowing you highly more educated than me. You know what I'm saying? But I want to touch on that. Like, why do you think that we're hung up on certain vices on that? To, you know what I mean, to stereotype people and then to lead off that more than anything?
Well, I will say this, just to bring a little science in it. So the way that our brain works is our brain puts everything in categories, right? Every time that we see something that's familiar to something that we already know, we throw that in that category. That's why when you see somebody you haven't seen in a long time, what's the first thing you do? You bring up something that you remember from their past. You'll be like, yep. So-and-so, or remember when you at that football game, or this and that, or whatever. It's because that's how our mind works. Our mind, every time something comes up, your mind is always trying to find something in your brain to basically put that in that category. And if you're someone that's not well-versed, or if you look at the same thing daily, your categories are not going to be a wide variety. So we pretty much have these small boxes. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like having a conversation with somebody and you're telling them one thing and they keep saying, oh, it's like this. And you're like, no, it's not like that. It's like this. And they're like, no, it's like this. That's because their mind can only relate it to what they're trying to relate it to. They can't really understand or comprehend what you're trying to get them to understand. So scientifically, the way we're created, it's a natural thing. That's why I say a lot of this stuff that we do, you have to truly consciously every day, not do it. Mm-hmm. That's changing and healing is so hard because what you're basically doing is unlearning all of the things that you learned that was right. And once you feel like something is right, it's hard to change it and tell yourself that it's wrong, especially if you've been doing it for a long time. So as society, what we do is we basically categorize everything.
Yeah.
What we know.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, because that's for me. Like, if I go through social media, me personally, I don't follow certain people. So I take a lot of that other, like you said, Instagram models and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I follow them. So when I see people, I'm always putting them either in a therapeutic category,
Okay.
or entrepreneurship category, or a wife category. Like, so it's basically what you feed your mind, and then your mind is going to pretty much categorize everything that you're looking at. So that's why it's kind of so important. I tell people that all the time. Like, for one, the first thing you want to do, this is how you stop yourself from doing that. When you meet people, I always tell people, for me, and this is a good way to learn how to forgive people when they do stuff to you. I always take people for who they are until they show me something different. I don't look at people and try to be like, oh, like how people be like, oh, he look like this, he like he got money because he drive his car, or she look like she got a lot of kids because she do this, or this and this and that. I don't do none of that. I meet you for who you are until you show me something completely different. I'm gonna believe your word. I'm gonna take on it. I don't assume nothing about nobody, because honestly, this what assuming does too. Like, everybody knows, like you assume, you make an ass out of yourself. But not only that, assuming takes too much work. Like, when you assuming stuff by somebody, now you got to try to put their whole life together in your head. Like, oh, well, I wonder if, oh, well, she probably do this, or he probably like that, or this. I ain't got time for that. Like, I'm gonna meet you. You tell me who you are. If your actions and your lifestyle don't line up with what you told me, then I can create my own conclusion about you. But I'm one of those people, as take people for who they are, man. Like, we have to stop kind of, looking at people and stereotyping them, because honestly, I've met some awesome people when I go to stores. For some reason, like, I guess it's that therapy side of me. People see me. I meet in stores. As soon as they meet me, they telling me their whole life story. Assume nothing about these people. People come up to me and I still talk to them. Like, I don't think like, oh, well, he gonna rob me, or he a bum, or nothing like that. I take people for who they are until they show me something different.
But I'm gonna be honest with you. You have a very welcoming face. You have like I'm talking to you. I could tell you're very easygoing to talk. You have a very welcoming spirit. A lot of people are not going to be. A lot of people are going to, especially if they have trauma. You might look like something that might have traumatized her. I'm not going to say nothing to her. You see what I'm saying? Like, oh, she, you know what I mean? And this where we go to, going back to the traumas of dealing with what we're dealing with, be like, oh, you know what I mean? Like, oh, like, let me say hi to her. You know what I mean? And then that's also a cultural thing too amongst Black people. We unless you have enough courage, not to step to certain people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is why.
But I want to also ask you a question, because this is something a lot of men deal with when it comes to dating as well. They always say Black woman is always angry. Can you explain that type of stereotype? Why? And it's coming from Black men. They say it all the time. Black woman is always angry. I'm keeping it real. You see them, you smile at them, and they look mad. Can you explain that? Like, why that always happens to the Black woman?
Honestly, man, I feel like a lot of these stereotypes that's thrown on Black women comes from a place of bitterness. Like, people interact with one bad thing, and then they say like all people are like that. I mean, I'm gonna just get personal with myself. I was married, I'm now divorced, and I dealt with infidelity, I dealt with lies, cheating, all types of stuff. But it didn't stop me from dating other Black men. It didn't give me that all Black men are dogs, all Black men are liars. I still believe in love. I still believe in marriage. I still believe in Black men. I still believe Black kings exist. It's a mindset, like, you as a person, don't sour your mind with the mess. That's why this is another thing too. Stay off social media. Stop listening to these people on podcasts that ain't got no education and they just talking from their experience. Like, experience is good, but education is a whole lot better. You know what I'm saying? Like, anybody could come and tell you, they done dealt with this garbage Black woman and she was mean, or this and this and that. I hear all of that, but it's all about you as a mindset, because your mindset pretty much is what keeps you from a lot of things. And this is something that I say. You cannot attract something if you have the negative mindset about it. And this is what You cannot say it. And I talk to my girlfriends about this all the time because they be like, oh, niggas ain't shit. Oh, all niggas cheat. All them niggas don't lie. You give them a chance. I be like, and that's why all y'all not married. All of them be looking at me. They be like, how you always meet men and want to marry you? And I be like, because I don't have that mentality. I don't feel like I don't feel like so when I meet a man, I that are not like that.
Preach. Preach this stuff.
And whatever your mindset is, you attract those same exact people. And people don't never understand why. Them same people that's always like, oh, women ain't shit, niggas ain't shit. You always end up attracting no shit niggas. Me, I don't attract them type of people. Everybody I attract are loving, caring, just like me, because that's the mentality that I have. I don't think that everybody bad. Of course, there are bad people, but then even still, it's the reason they like that. So I don't put that stuff in my head like that. So that's a way that you can change that. But I will say this too. A lot of that too comes from their childhood. You know, like that's why I say parenting is so important. And I see this too. Like if you could, especially these single moms, like a lot of these women be talking about niggas ain't shit, but then they raising no shit niggas. And I'm gonna tell you.
I didn't say it. I didn't say it.
Mom,
go ahead.
You're
a black woman.
Son, right? You're coddling your son.
Yeah.
Not teaching him how to be responsible. You talking about his daddy like a dog in front of him.
Mm-hmm.
He ain't gonna be shit just like his daddy. So guess what? When he grows up, he remembers these things. This stuff don't go away. This is stuff you embedded in your son. So now, guess what? Since you done told your son all this stuff, now when he grow up, what he think? Oh, black women ain't shit. All black bitter.
Niggas in the comics say they ready to marry you, Shotwell.
Real shit. Real talk. Excuse my language. Real talk.
No. Listen, you're saying something. We say this. It's just beautiful to hear a woman say this, because you know when they say it is, when we say it is wrong.
Well, you know that's that mind.
You know what I'm saying? So it's wonderful to say that you're very self-aware about that. Now it's crazy this, because there's some other stuff I want you to talk about, but I want you to hone in on this one subject because I want to hear your perspective on this. Why do you think? Because I want to hear about Treasure University. I want to hear about that. I want you to talk about your skincare line, because I watched one of your videos. You was in there with the pot. You was in there with the pot making the soap. I want to talk about that. Why do you think, as for coming from a therapeutic point of view, why do you think Black women have a disdain for regular men?
What you mean, like the 9 to 5 men? The
9 to 5, like I call them the Jean Baptistes. That's what I call them. The Jean Baptiste, the Shannons, the Larice, the Lennox, the niggas that work at Valvoline, the niggas who.
You say that's another social media myth.
Yeah.
Because all of my friends are like, we all degree, well established, and we all take on it. We don't want a man with a lot of money. Like we don't want that typical man that everybody want. And so I think that's a social media myth that a lot of these younger girls, that's another thing. And I want to say this because I hate when mature older women get compared to statuses that 23 and 20-year-olds are making.
Yeah.
Because you talk to a grown, mature woman, she ain't gonna say she don't want a man with a 9 to 5. She want a working man. You know what I'm saying? Like you want a man that got a good job, bringing home money. I think it's a thing. You know, like when women are younger, they probably want that fun, young, that fun guy that look like he got the money or whatever.
Scammer.
If you're maturing, those not appealing to you anymore. You know what I'm saying? So I wouldn't say that the 9 to 5 guy is not appealing to women, because he's very much so. I think it's the type of women that you're looking at. You know, that's another thing too. Like when you're talking about women and what they like, you also put us in different categories, because not all women like the same type of men, just like all men don't like the same type of women. But I think men look for the girls that look good on the outside and don't really focus on the inside. And that's
but you know, men are visual creatures.
We all are. Women are too.
You are right, but listen here. A woman would overlook looks for resources. Think about, listen, Shotwell, think about it. Some women will overlook looks for resources. Because I done seen some women with some humbugs for some niggas who got that sack. But the point I'm trying to say this, I just want to hold on this one point. We live in Florida, right? Not a lot of niggas here got degrees. Let's be real about it.
Yeah.
Most of these niggas either work at Publix warehouse, Winn-Dixie warehouse, exclude the bus drivers, exclude the truck driver niggas, exclude them.
Truck drivers make good money. My dad.
No, they make good money. They make good money. They make good money. But I want to exclude them because not all women are fucking truck drivers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about the Valvoline niggas who work at Walmart. I'm talking about these typically are mostly what women are in the most vicinity with. Am I wrong?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They can't get a nigga with, sometimes most women can't get a nigga with money. Typically, these are the guys that are trying to holler. But they be thinking that they have a disdain for these type of men. And I just was trying to wonder is, if it's such a problem, why is it that, these are the only guys that are hollering at you? Why would you talk shit about it?
Well, this is another thing. A lot of people are not self-aware. That's something I preach about all the time. A lot of people are not aware. So they everybody, for the majority of the part, put themselves on pedestals, right?
Yeah. So
I am this and you're that. Most people do, especially people that's not self-aware. And when they're not self-aware, it's 10 times worse. So now it's they the queen and you the peasant. Like, who are you? But here's the thing with that, right? So a lot of that too stems from them being boosted up by social media. Because the reality, if you're talking about bagging a rich guy, right? How many of rich guys are out there? You probably got a lot of scammers, but how many rich guys that have legal money, you know what I'm saying? Legally, that are rich and that can really take care of you long term, because that scamming shit don't last long. You know what I'm saying? Especially if they ain't got no brain behind it to actually invest it in some businesses and stuff like that. So I would say this. I hate social media. That's my thing on it. I blame social media because in the era that we live in now, this is where people are looking to live their lives. People are getting advice off of social media. People are basically basing their life off of what they see on social media, and it's killing them. I really want to talk about how social media is causing depression and anxiety, but people not ready for that conversation.
No, they're not.
Like that, people be like, "Oh man, you being too deep," and I'm not, because what you're doing is, if you go everywhere, everybody got a hand in their phone. They in a nightclub and they phone like this the whole time. You're not even enjoying yourself because the whole time you got your phone. Social media, you want everybody to see you having fun. If you having fun, you ain't got to be doing all that.
Mm-hmm.
What that is like, people want to be like what they see other people having. And a lot of this stuff people post, for one, ain't real. It's not true. And if they is together, you don't know how their relationship are. You don't know if they're faithful to each other, if they honor each other, if they value each other. It's just so much that come with that. I just really wish people would use their own mind, be their own person, and stop looking to social media to live their life. And I think women especially do that. And that too comes from, and I'm going to say this because I just want to keep going back to childhood, because everything goes back there. Mm-hmm. Women, and people hate when you say this, but it's the truth. You got a woman that grew up with a father, and you got a woman that don't.
Preach.
Huge difference. Grew up in a home with my dad. My dad was a hardworking man. I've seen my dad do more for our family than I've seen my mom do. My mom actually was the one that stepped out on my dad. So my take on relationships is completely
okay.
So when I start having conversations with people and they're like, "Oh, men ain't shit," I'm like, "Nah, it's some women that ain't shit too." So it's like it all goes back to childhood. It all goes back to what you seen as a child, what you seen your parents do. So me seeing my dad be a hardworking man, like I said, he's a truck driver. He makes good money. Be a hardworking man, hold down the house, take care of kids without a wife, do all of this. I always go for that type of man. But if you're a woman that grew up in a house without a dad, so you had to depend on outside like scammers to take care of you, you need money. You know, you needed that bag, or you needed them
Yeah.
shoes he buying you. I didn't need that. I had a dad. I had
Yeah.
somebody. I had somebody that told me I was beautiful every day. So I didn't need that from a man. But if you grew up as a girl without your dad, not having that father figure there, not having that man take you out on dates and buy you things, now you're looking for that outside of your household. So guess who you're going to talk to? The scammers.
Yeah.
So a lot of these women grow up and they still have that same mentality, like, oh, I need a man to take care of me. Man, a man, listen, as a man, the only woman you should be taking care of is your wife. Women who feel this, oh, a man should be taking care of me and this and that, are most likely women who didn't grow up with a dad. Because when you dad, you already have somebody to take care of you. I'm 36 years old. I call my daddy for everything. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't, even when I'm in relationships, I still call my daddy because I have a dad. But when a woman don't have a dad and you don't have that man there, guess what? You calling on a nigga for everything. Oh, my lights ain't paid. Oh, my car got towed. This and this and that. No, when my car gets towed, I call my daddy. I'll be like, Daddy, Daddy. But see, that's the difference. And that's why I kind of, you know, my heart goes out to women who don't grow up with a dad, because it is a complete difference. You know what I'm saying? And how they interact with men, it's a difference. I know how to respect men because I grew up respecting my dad.
I could tell.
With a dad, you're not gonna know how to respect the man. You're not gonna be listening to no man telling you what to do. You're like, who is you? You telling me what to do? Because they've never had that. So that's why conversation changes when you go back to childhood.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I want to hit back to childhood real quick. I feel like, I mean, it happened to me and it might have to other people too. You know, back in childhood, that maybe a parent maybe did something that probably hurt them, you know, mentally and emotionally, and they carried it all the way to, you know, to adulthood. And then, you know, maybe mid 20s and 30s, they think about, you know, what their parents did in the past and everything. And I feel like sometimes, like, there might be, you know, when they're adults, they want to, you know, talk to their parents about it, but they're kind of afraid to do it because they put their parents in a high pedestal. It's like, you know, I should not question my mom or dad, something like that. So what do you say to those people that, you know, maybe they was hurt in the past what their parents did, and trying to help, you know, confront their parents, you know, and really have a conversation about that? And that's my last question I have.
Do it anyway. This is something that I'm still going through with my mom. I've been trying to heal the relationship with my mom for years because of this right here. She don't want to admit what she did wrong. She don't want to admit that she hurt me, because a lot of times too, parents, especially parents, they see you talking about your pain as a personal attack on them. And that's not, this is for you to get free. Do it anyway, because honestly, the only way you're going to free yourself from that emotional baggage is you express yourself about it. And trust me, they ain't gonna want to hear it. I haven't met too many parents that was okay with their child coming and telling them like, hey, look, you did this to me and it's messing up my relationships. You know, like, because like I said, instead of them looking at it as an opportunity for them to learn and grow from it, they see it like you're like a personal attack on them, like you're attacking them, like you're trying to say they're doing something bad or they was a bad parent. Nobody's perfect. And this is what we got to understand. And this is something you can share, you know, with your parents. I encourage people, talk to them and let them know like, hey, look, mom, dad, I'm not trying to say you was a bad parent, but I do want to let you know there were some things you did when I was a child that I noticed is now affecting my adulthood. And it does. Everything happened in your childhood will affect your adulthood, especially your relationships, especially your relationships. So it's so important that you talk to your parents about that. And like I said, a lot of times they're not going to want to hear it. Most parents probably not even going to confess up to it. They probably going to be like, they're going to be in denial about it, all types of stuff you're going to deal with. But I promise you, if you get it out, it's going out of your heart and out of your mind. Now you no longer have to deal with that. Now it's up to your parents to deal with it. So now that you see like, hey, you know, I spoke to them about it, whatever they do with it, that's on them. But now it's no longer plaguing me. So I think it's so important that you have those conversations with your parents. And like I said, whether they want to hear it or not, it's still going to be very therapeutic for you because you're no longer holding that in the inside of you. Now you get a chance to release that so you can allow new things to come inside your heart and new things to come inside your mind. But a lot of times when we don't talk about these things, we end up repeating these things. I don't know if you guys have children, but this is why it's so important. I tell people all the time, all that stuff that your parents did that you didn't like, all that stuff they said to you or did to you or whatever that hurt your feelings or whatever it is, talk to them about it before you have children. Because if you don't, you're going to do the same thing to your kids. And that's why people as a child, because I remember as a child, be like, I ain't gonna never treat my kids like this and that. But then when I had my daughter, because she was my first child, I began to notice I used to talk to her the same way my mom talked to me. And I was like, I'm doing the same thing. I'm like, hold up, this ain't right. But that's, I never addressed these issues with my mom. And that's why I say it's so important to make sure you address these issues, because if you don't, you're just going to end up repeating that cycle. So you got to break that cycle, man. You got to talk to your parents about it, whether they want to hear it or not. And then if they get mad at you, guess what? Fuck them people. That's my motto. I tell people this all the time. Fuck them people. Because people, and this is the thing, and this is why it hurts so bad. The people you're always going to have to set boundaries with, the people that hurt you the most, the people that you know that cause so much trauma in your life, all of that are always going to be the people that you love the most. So guess who they're going to be? Your parents, your family, your cousins, your long-term best friends. So that's why it's so important that you don't put them on a pedestal, because we do that all the time. Like, oh, I've been friends with them for so long, you know, we loyal, this and that. But if your friend been treating you any kind of way, fix that. Let them know. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not going to keep letting them do that because they've been your friend for so long. Just like a parent. Just because you're my mom, I honor you and I respect you, but I'm not going to let you disturb my peace. I'm not going to let you cause me additional trauma. No. So that's where you draw the line. That's where the boundaries come into play. So please, yeah, you definitely, you know, you want to have a conversation with your parents, whether they want to hear it or not. It's better on them than it is on you. That's
hey, you dropping so many gems. Niggas in the comments say she's dropping the truth. Now, you dropping the truth. So I want you to talk about bait therapy, and I want you to go talk about bait therapy, then talk about Treasure Universe. Is it? I'm saying it right?
Treasure Universe. Yeah.
Treasure Universe. I want you to talk about.
I'll start with Treasure Universe, and then that's how I kind of got into bait therapy. But probably like some years ago, I was suffering with some like health conditions. They didn't know what it was. They thought it was like lupus. They thought I had all different types of stuff they was trying to say it was. Doing all this, and I was like, So I was listening to this radio interview that Neo did, and Neo was he was having some problems with his knees, and he was like, you know, I became vegan, and he was like, my knees, you know, they got better, this and that. So I was like, you know what? Let me try this. So I stopped eating meat, and I noticed like all these symptoms started to go away. So when I went back to the doctor, they started testing me and everything, and they was like, I don't know what you're doing, but whatever you did is working. So that I want to say that was in 2017. So since 2017, I stopped eating meat.
Wow.
And it tremendously, you guys. So that's how I started with the Treasure Universe, because I start to notice that a lot of products that we use have meat in it. It has So it was like, it made no sense for me to stop eating meat, but then I'm still using soap and lotions that have animal fat in it. So that's how I came up with Treasure Universe, because I started making my own products. I started making my own soap, started making my own lotion, deodorant, everything. Because I was like, at this point, everything in the store got animal fat in it. And a lot of people don't know that, you know, like, so if you're somebody that don't eat meat, be mindful of that. Start Googling up these health products that you're using, anything you're using on your skin. Google the ingredients, and I assure you, most of them have animal fat in it. So if you don't want to have animal fat in your body, you're going to have to find some natural products. So that's how I came up with Treasure Universe. And then from there, it was more so like, okay, now I'm taking care of my physical health. Let's start working on this inside, you know, like let's start working on how I'm feeling and things like that. So that's why I came up with bait therapy. I was already in school to become a therapist, so I already knew it was something I wanted to do, branch out and do on my own. And that's how I came up with bait therapy, and it stands for body and everything. So I wanted to basically show people that it's all connected. The mind, body, and soul is all connected. So that's what bait therapy is all about, to let people know that you can't take care of the body and neglect the mind. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't take care of the mind and neglect the soul, because it all aligns together. So it's all about putting that body, mind, and soul. I'm saying, sorry. The body, mind, and soul all in alignment, so that way you could be the healthiest person that you can be. And until you achieve that, you're gonna always be on that little roller coaster ride. Like, I know people be like, we have those highs and lows of life, but you can really live a happy, fulfilled life. You really, really can, but you just got to understand that it's all connected. Even in what you eat, it's connected in how you feel. Even in how you interact with people, it's all connected. All of that is connected. Like my goal was when people come in contact with me, I wanted them to feel my energy. Like I wanted them to feel the goodness, like I wanted them to feel that healing and that happiness and that joy. So that was like what I worked on, basically becoming completely whole in my mind, body, and soul. So that's what Bay Therapy is all about, like helping people become whole in their mind, their body, and their soul, not just focusing on one thing, but focusing on how it all aligns together.
No, wonderful.
No, that's dope. That's dope. I want to say, of course, we're gonna tell you at the end how can people buy your products and subscribe to your channel and all these other things towards the end. But I want to ask you a question because this is the most important question. Can you please explain the importance of self-love? I think the Black community are suffering from that. We don't know how to love ourselves. Can you please tell us that?
So, self-love is really important, and I say that because even as growing up, and a lot of Black people, they grow up because I grew up Christian, in Christianity, and Christianity was all about self-sacrifice. And I think that is something that has really kept the Black community in a chokehold, because that was so like embedded in our brain as going to church. Because I know, like, I was forced to go to church as a child all my life. Go to church, love the Lord, this and that, love everybody, this and that. They're always talking about love thy neighbor and love this, but what about loving yourself? What about loving on you? Because that's where it starts. And I think that's one of the issues with the Black community, because Black people are so, involved in religion, and that's one of their main things. So a lot of the things that we learn comes from that. And I talk about it all the time, because now that I'm in another space with how I move with God, I'm not into that religious stuff no more. So I come against a lot of that those religious sayings that we were taught growing up that basically keep us in shackles, because that's really what it does. And a lot of Black people, because even now when I talk to my family about it, I'm like, man, y'all don't love y'all sister enough. They be like, you better love Jesus. And I be like, see, that's y'all problem. Like, y'all so busy focusing on telling everybody to love Jesus that you don't even love yourself. And if you don't love yourself, it's impossible to love anybody else. If I don't know how to give myself love, how am I gonna give it to you? Like, make it make sense. You know what I'm saying? Like, and if love is not in you and it's not a part of you, how can you give something you don't have? So that's another thing. Like, if I don't have self-love in me loving myself, taking care of myself, how can I give something I do not have? If I don't have it within me, I can't give it out. And that's why a lot of people, because what a lot of people think is love nowadays, sadly, it's not. Sadly, it is not, and it's really sad, because a lot of people are going to live their entire life and never really have a true, loving, genuine relationship, even with their parents. That's another thing. Like, especially when I could say so much with religion. So I ain't even gonna go there because we're gonna get off topic. But
no, but you telling the truth though.
I'm telling you, it's a whole nother ballgame. It's a lot of trauma in religion. And Black talk about it because they don't want the church and people to come against them. But I mean, I lost a lot of my family over that, because I come against it a lot, because I be wanting people to understand the same thing that you love so much is the same thing that's keeping you in shackles. The same thing that's preventing you living a happy, prosperous life. Because when you look at it, a lot of these people that praise God and love Jesus and be giving all their money to the church, they live unhappy. And that's the reality of it. I mean, let's be real. We really want to get real about this. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's not the life that God set out for us to live. Like, so like I said, another topic, like we have to start letting this stuff make sense. If the Bible says and God says, I come to give you life and I come to give it to you more abundantly, then why I'm living poorly? And not just financially, but I'm living poorly mentally. I'm living poorly spiritually. All of this stuff, like, so it's not adding up. It's not making sense, and it's because that's that piece that that Christians are missing. They're missing that self-love piece. They're missing that take care of me, can be able to take care of others. because it's so much of that whole martyr type thing that Christianity, you know, put in our head, like we got to be a martyr. But it's like, how I'm gonna be that, and then I'm not gonna be no good for myself, and I'm not gonna be no good for nobody else. Facts. But it's bad teaching, man. It's bad teaching.
Facts. You preaching, sister. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's a lot of bad teaching, man. Like if we really go back, that's why everything starts back to childhood and childhood foundation. And if you go back to that foundation, then you'll be able to move forward, because that's what's holding a lot of us back, and a lot of it is religion. I hate to say it, but it is what it is. You know, a lot of Black people ain't gonna like it, but y'all so busy focusing, loving on Jesus, that you not yourself, and you're not loving on your kids. That's why you have so many religious people. When their kids tell them that they're gay, they tell them they're going to hell. They tell them I don't love them. That's not of God. It's not. You know, I dealt with it in my family. They do it to some of my cousins, and I'm like, that's your child. Like I'm gonna love my kids no matter what. I don't care what that book says. Okay, I'm gonna love my kids, and if God is love, then that's all it should be about. It should always be about love. But you know, we were taught. I always say we were taught wrong. You know, just in the church, how they teach it to us, they tell us to love one thing, but then hate another thing. But we also know that love and hate cannot dwell together. So if you're telling me to hate people that live their life like this, but then in another stance, you're telling me to love everybody, that's contradiction. It don't add up. But that's why I tell people, you know, it's important to go back and research the history of the Bible, because the Bible has been rewritten. A lot of books have been taken out. So that's, like I say, that's a whole nother topic. We go all night on that. But when it comes to the Bible, you know, Black people, that's their life, you know, that like they live by that. And a lot of the scriptures and a lot of the teachings that they have from that very own Bible that they live by, it's the same thing that's keeping them in shackles. That's just my opinion.
Praise the Lord. I see you feel very strongly about that religion.
Yeah, because listen, I used to be an ordained minister. So I used to be really, really deep in it. And that's why I can really talk about this.
So you was a Proverbs 31 wife?
Listen, yes. That life. No, seriously, like I lived that life. I've seen all the contradiction, you know, like I've seen these people stand in the pulpit and tell y'all one thing but live another, you know. So yeah, I've seen this stuff firsthand. And I'm not trying to say like all pastors are bad or nothing like that, because I don't want them to be cancel culture to be coming for me. Yeah. But I'm just telling you, like, you got to use discernment, you know, like you got to know what's coming from God and what's coming from man. And a lot of this stuff that's being taught to us is man inspired and it's not God inspired.
Now, I want to ask you, this is my last question. What, if you was in my shoes, what you think I should have asked you this whole time we've been talking? Like, what you think I should act, you know what I mean? That you think, I think my viewers should know, or what you represent, or what anything. What you think I should have asked you since I've been sitting here listening to you talk?
I would say I'm all about mental health and I'm all about self-love and self-awareness. So I think I on all of those topics.
Yeah.
When people see me, I want them to see God, but I want them to see God in a way that relates to them.
Mm-hmm.
I say that because the church has put God in a box.
Listen.
So you said when you see me, you thought I was an Instagram model.
I did.
But people actually come in contact with my energy, they feel the love of God. And that's my goal. I think that's what God wants from us. He wants us to live a life that edifies him and glorifies him. That way, when people see us, they can feel God's love. You know, like not putting him in a box, not trying to say, oh, you have to dress like this or you have to wear your hair like this. Because I dealt with that as a minister. You know, people tell me, oh, why you wear weave? Why you wear lashes? This and that. And I'm like, because this is me. You know, like I'm different. I'm not like you, you know, and I think we put a look on what holiness looks like or what godliness looks like, but that's not what it is. God is love. So my goal is that when people see me, they can see the love of God in me, and that will basically encourage them to do the same, but in their own way.
Well, yeah, you was talking like a 5% just now. You said when you see me, see God. You know, 5% say that. You know that.
Yeah.
No, but that's real. That is real. I also want to ask, that is real. Do you think that a lot of people are more receptive to you because you're pretty?
That too. I think as for men anyway, but
Yeah.
Some women too can be like that. But I would say this, like you say men are visual creatures, but we all are, we're all attracted to nice things. I'm gonna say nice.
Okay.
I'm gonna say nice things because what it is people feel your energy before they really see you.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you see something pretty, but you also feel something,
Yeah.
feeling what we feeling. Like I tell people, like, people don't really too much remember what you said or what you did to them, but they always remember how you make them feel. So it's about that feeling that people get when they see you. And I think when people come in contact with me, especially men, because I get that whole little pretty red girl syndrome, they're like, oh, I thought you was gonna be me. You cool as hell. And I'm like, yeah, because see, you was going off of stereotype.
No, that is true.
You came in contact with this energy. You was like, oh man, she not like that.
I'm not going to even lie to you. I have a whole different perspective about you since we talked. like on some real G shit. If I seen you on the street, I wouldn't even approach you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I was saying that's kind of a problem in this. It's like me. Go by, they don't go by the concept of the character. They just go by, stereotypes.
Yeah. But hearing you talk, and this is why I've always advocated for women to holler at niggas to kill that noise. You know what I'm trying to say? Because a lot of men are not as or you know what I mean. Right now, you see the whole Me Too movement. A lot of men are not going to approach women, but I'm just saying, just hearing you talk, I'm like, damn, you really are down to earth as fuck.
Yeah, women have their ways that they kind of open the door for men. So I'm gonna just tell y'all some things that women do. It depends on how modest she is, because a lot of women grew up religious like me, so they grew up with the whole mindset of, a man supposed to find a wife, this and that. So mindset surrounding that. But some things women do, like if they're out, she might wink an eye, or she might like keep looking at you or something like that, or she might wave, just a little slight, or she might look at you one time and then kind of like double back again. So it's little things that, women do to let you know that they like you. But I think sometimes men miss that mark, like they be like, does she like me, or is she?
Most men are not used to like very social cues like that. You know what I mean? That's why I say it's better to be verbal, because let's be honest, like a lot of us can't read minds. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I say it's good to hear these type of conversations to point that out. You know what I mean? And to very like we have to do a whole restructuring as far as his people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you said a lot, though. You know what I mean? Do you see yourself getting married someday?
Oh yeah, of course. I'm a hopeless romantic. Like I firmly believe in love. I believe that I'm not gonna say like you have to be married to be in love, but I think that I believe in the institution of marriage. I believe that people should be married, like even though this whole new women feminist thing where it's like, I don't need a man, or I don't have to be. No, I need a man. Just like man need woman, woman need man need woman. That's just how it goes, We all need each other. And I'ma just get biblical with y'all, but that's why the Bible says it's not good for men to be alone. And it's not talking about a man, it's talking about woman and man, because we're both men. In the Bible, woman and man. It's not good for men to be alone. And this is why, and I tell people this all the time, stay clear from people that has not have any type of longevity in their relationships, because relationships are what help you build character. Because guess what? If you're always on your own, you're always alone, who's gonna check you?
Yeah, nobody.
Shaquana, that's not right for you to think like that. Or, Shaquana, that's not right that you're doing that. You don't have nobody to check you. You don't have nobody to bring in that balance. So when you deal with people that have not been in a relationship for a long time, and I know we probably all done dated somebody like that, we like, man, you selfish as hell. Like, do you not see you do this? They not used to being in a relationship. They not used to having that balance, that, you know, that masculine energy to come in and check that feminine energy, you know. And then as a man, you need that feminine energy to come in and kind of soften up that masculine energy. Like, we need that balance, you know. Like, I'm not gonna put my values and my morals on other people, but as a therapist, relationships are very important. So people who cannot keep healthy relationships in their life, that is a red flag. Okay, like that right there is the first sign to let you know that it is them. You know how you meet people and they like telling you all these issues they done went through, but it's everybody else's fault. Yeah, because he did this, or yeah, because she was a bad friend, or she was jealous of me, and this and this and that. And I'm like, okay, well, what you did, because you were common denominator in all these broken friendships and relationships. So I think it's very important that that you have relationships in your life, because you need that support. But me and myself personally, I definitely see myself being married again. Like, I don't see myself living alone, dying alone. That's not my goal. That's not how I want to live my life. Like, I want to have a partner. I want to have a provider. I want to have a man come in and take care of me, you know. But I just think that I think too, like, when it comes to me, like you said, like, you would have never approached me. And I date guys, and I'm gonna say this: confidence is really important when it comes to men. And I think a lot of times men lack that. I have had some of these, and I ain't even gonna say ugly, but I have had some men that have approached me that ain't nowhere in here they have a chance, but they the confidence alone, I be like, you know what? He was confident. Confidence is everything, you guys. Like, people can feel it. Like, if you approach a woman and you kind of like timid and you like, she ain't gonna talk to you. She ain't gonna mess with you. Another thing too is like, I know for me, I'm a sucker for a joke. You know, like, lighten it up. You know, like, don't come on so strong. Don't make it seem like, you know, like, oh, well, you know, what's up, or this and this and that. Like, try to be her friend. Like, trying to get to know her first, because that's really important too. Because we all know, like you said, you know, looks is everything. So, you know, the first thing when you see somebody, you see their look. But after you see their look, now you got to get to know them. You know, now you kind of got to see what's in their heart and what's in their soul and stuff like that. So I think it's important that you, for one, have confidence in yourself and have confidence in what you can provide and what you bring to this person. Because none of us is perfect. You know what I'm saying? We all have flaws. We all lack in certain areas in our life. You know, we all need something additional. So I think when you look at it that way, like, yeah, she might look like this, but I got this, you know, I can offer this. So I always look at it in a mindset of, this is what I offer. Yeah, this is what she has, but this is what I offer, you know, like, I can bring. And I like that. You know, I like that type of confidence in a man. You know, I like for a man to be like, oh yeah, you know what, I see you like this, but this what I got for you, baby. You know, like, because they let me know, like, you confident in what you bring to the table. You know, like, you don't feel like, you know, like, I'm too much for you or you too much for me. Like, you know, like, this what I bring and this what you bring.
Nice.
Yeah. So the final question is, how can the people follow you? How can the people buy your products? All the good stuff. So, you know,
drop it, Treasure Universe. Let us know where we can get at you.
So, look, that's my baby. Well, you can get my products from Treasure Universe. I'm gonna just give you my IG handles, and all of my websites are on there. So for skincare, you can follow me at Treasure Universe on Instagram, and then the website is treasureyou.net. And then ask for Bay Therapy if you need any therapeutic services, any counseling or anything like that. You can follow me at Bay Therapy on Instagram. And then also too, I have a nonprofit organization that is dedicated to at-risk youth. And I do a free summer camp for them every summer. And the summer camp this year theme is about entrepreneurship and empowerment. So this is like my project that I'm working on currently right now. This is the 3rd year that I'm doing this. I'm really excited about it. But basically, different people, different business owners come out and they teach these children different trades. And this year, we actually have Miami Trade House that's coming out. They're going to be teaching these kids how to trade, y'all. So this is going to be major. So have a child between the ages of 12 and 18 years old. You live in South Florida. Come to Safe House Corporation on IG. Sign your child up for the camp. Let them come out there and learn some trades so they can come home and teach you some things.
Yeah, let us know you need anything from us, like you want us to promote the your youth camp, everything, and then we got you on the back end.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you.
Yeah, but it was great to have you. Thank you for responding to my messages, so people can see that. Look, we get everyday people on the show that's doing great things, and look, even in the Black community. So I want people to see that because the Black community been shut down so many times, and it's time to build up that same passionate woman like yourself and men to bring back to help out the community. And you did an awesome, amazing job. I love it. We got to have you back again. You know what I'm saying?
I'm asking, you've been very vocal. The niggas in the comments, they've been talking heavy. They was like, damn, we need to bring more women that's bad like her. BAD, that's all I've been seeing. BAD, But I just want to say it's been a pleasure talking. You have a very beautiful energy. You surprised me, actually. Listen. They'll tell you I'm usually a rowdy person. I had no reason but to just shut up. I had to shut up the whole podcast. You know what I mean? This is where I say that I'm not intimidated. I'm not intimidated. So this is nice, man. This is nice. You it's a beautiful thing to see a woman like you in your stature. You know what I mean? Who going out there and good thing. And I just appreciate you so much, Ms. Shotwell.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you guys too. The conversation was awesome. I'm always
the
conversation.
Oh yeah. Now definitely listen. You don't listen. Good.
No, I'm gonna bring her back again when we have relationship summit and stuff like that. When we talk about relationship,
we talk about a lot of relationships.
Okay.
We talk about relationship here. Like a lot of the stuff you say, we echo here, and they say we be hating, but you're the only person who actually echoes the mindset that we're trying to teach people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like the whole time you've been here, you've been very respectful. You've been very feminine. Do I need to capitalize that? You've been very feminine. You know what I mean? Like you showed that you have discernment. I could feel the meekness coming out of you. And the fact that you said that you was like a pastor even says that, you know what I mean? Like, okay, so she really was about that Proverbs 31. When I say that, people, you know what I mean? Like, so being submissive, like you don't feel touchy when I say stuff like that. When I mention stuff like that to the other girls we have on it, they say I'm not nobody's slave. So, hey man, I just, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
No, definitely. I think this is my favorite interview yet. I know a lot of people might hate.
I second that. I second that.
So
but you already know, man. Thank you for everybody for tuning in. That being said, KI Culture Radio.
We out.